Imagine this, a gorgeous summer afternoon in one of Atlanta's most upscale neighborhoods. Michael Carter, a former police officer with 15 years of service, is finally living the dream he worked so hard for. Years of saving every penny and working extra shifts have paid off. He's now the proud owner of a breathtaking two-story home, complete with a crystal-clear swimming pool that glistens under the Georgia sun. But just as he's settling into a moment of pure peace, reclining in his lounge chair with his eyes closed, enjoying the warm breeze, WEO, police sirens tear through the tranquility. Two patrol cars come screeching to a halt right in front of his house. Officers, hands hovering over their holsters, approach his fence. "Sir, we've received a report of a suspicious individual trespassing in this pool area." Michael sits up, a familiar tightness forming in his stomach. He knows exactly who made that call. From the corner of his eye, he spots his neighbor, Karen Thompson, peeking through her curtains, a smug grin plastered across her face. This isn't the first time she's pulled something like this, and little does she know, it's about to be her last. Let's rewind. 2 months earlier. That was when Michael had first moved into his new home. After dedicating over a decade and a half to law enforcement, he had achieved what his parents could only dream of, owning a home in one of Atlanta's most prestigious neighborhoods. The previous owners had kept the property in pristine condition, especially the stunning backyard pool, which had been a selling point for Michael from day one. As he arranged his patio furniture, he first noticed her, Karen Thompson, standing at her second-floor window, phone pressed against her ear, staring at him. When Michael waved politely, she disappeared behind her curtains in an instant. The very next day, while Michael was out at the hardware store, his security camera sent him a notification. Curious, he checked the footage and there she was, strolling right through his unlocked back gate like she owned the place, draped in a designer swimsuit, carrying an expensive beach towel. She casually set her things on his pool chair before dipping her feet into his pool. By the time Michael returned and confronted her, her reaction was unbelievable. "Oh," she gasped, dramatically placing a hand on her chest. "I thought you were the new pool maintenance guy. The previous owners always let me use their pool." Her condescending smile made his blood boil, but years of police training had taught him to stay calm. "Ma'am, I'm not the maintenance guy. I'm the new owner," Michael stated firmly. "And I'd appreciate it if you asked permission before entering my property." Karen's expression twisted with disbelief. "You? The owner?" She let out a nervous chuckle. "There must be some mistake. I know the realtor handling this property, and she never mentioned." She gestured vaguely at him, letting the implication hang in the air. Michael's voice remained steady. "There's no mistake, Mrs. Thompson. This is my home, and you're trespassing. Please leave." Karen gathered her things, muttering under her breath, "We'll see about that." Not a threat, a promise. Over the next few weeks, her behavior escalated from annoying to outrageous. One Saturday morning, Michael woke up to the sound of splashing and laughter. Confused, he looked out his window, and what he saw made his jaw drop. Karen had invited 4 of her friends over for a full-on pool party in his backyard. Michael stormed outside. "Ladies, you need to leave. Now. This is private property." "Oh, don't be so difficult." Karen waved a dismissive hand. "We're just having a little fun. Besides, this pool barely gets any use." Her friends shifted uncomfortably in their designer swimsuits. Karen said she had permission, one of them whispered, hastily grabbing her things. Michael stayed calm, de-escalation training in full effect. "Mrs. Thompson, this is your final warning. Next time, I'm calling the police." Karen sneered. "Go ahead. I know everyone at the precinct. My husband plays golf with Captain Richards." That afternoon, Michael had security cameras installed. Years on the force had taught him one thing: document everything. Within days, the footage captured Karen testing his gate, peeking through his windows, and even attempting to use a key, a copy from the previous owners. The final straw came when she threw a book club gathering in his backyard. Michael arrived home to find 8 women lounging by his pool, sipping wine like they were at a country club. This time, he didn't hesitate. He called the police. Officers Davis and Martinez, his former colleagues, were the ones to respond.
Mike.
Long time no see. Davis greeted until he took in the scene.
Oh.
It's this kind of call. Karen immediately turned on the waterworks. Officers, thank goodness you're here. This man is harassing us. The previous owners always let us use the pool, and now he's being completely unreasonable. Officer Martinez cut her off. Ma'am, Mr. Carter was one of our best officers. If he says you're trespassing, you're trespassing. Please leave before we make this official. Karen's face burned with embarrassment, but before leaving, she spat out one last threat. This isn't over. You don't belong here, and I'll make sure everyone knows it. From there, her campaign against Michael escalated. Suspicious Facebook posts appeared, warning of unfamiliar activity at his address. His morning newspaper vanished. HOA complaints about his perfectly maintained yard poured in. But Michael wasn't just sitting back. His cameras caught everything. Karen stealing his newspaper, lurking outside at odd hours, and even sprinkling plant killer on his prized roses under the cover of darkness. At the next HOA meeting, Karen made her biggest move yet. I'm concerned about property values, she announced smugly, throwing Michael a sideways glance. Michael stood up, phone in hand. Interesting you mentioned property values, Mrs. Thompson. Care to explain why this footage shows you vandalizing my garden last Tuesday at 11:47 p.m.? The room fell silent as the crystal-clear video played. Karen's face drained of color. She stammered, I was checking for suspicious activity. Michael smirked. And now we all know exactly who's behind it. But the next day, his pool water was tampered with, filled with dish soap. That's when Michael decided enough was enough. And if Karen wanted to mess with his pool, well, he'd give her exactly what she wanted. Do you know how hard it is to close a real estate deal when your wife is literally green? He complained to his friends. She can't even show houses properly anymore. People keep asking if she's feeling okay. Through it all, Michael remained calm and professional. When a reporter asked for a comment, he simply replied with a small smile. Everyone is welcome to use my pool, they just need to ask for permission first. 2 weeks later, a for sale sign appeared in front of Karen's house. The green tint had finally faded from her skin, but her reputation was permanently stained. She started taking the long way around the block to avoid passing Michael's house, especially on weekends, when his now famous pool parties took place. These gatherings had become the highlight of the neighborhood. Michael hosted them properly, with written invitations, strict safety rules, and, of course, his legendary grilled ribs. Children splashed in the pool while parents chatted, finally creating the sense of community Karen had claimed to protect, but had actually tried to destroy. You know, said Tom, a neighbor from 2 doors down, as he helped Michael set up for a Labor Day barbecue, I've lived here for 20 years, and this is the first time I've really known my neighbors. Meanwhile, the Rodriguez kids had started a running joke. Every time they passed Karen's old house, they would tiptoe dramatically in their swimsuits and whisper loudly, "Don't tell Karen." Even their parents couldn't help but laugh. As for the real estate agents trying to sell Karen's house, they had a tough job ahead. The story had become such a local legend that they were now legally required to disclose it. No, the pool incident won't affect your property, they reassured concerned buyers. The green dye was completely temporary. Karen made one final appearance at an HOA meeting before moving out. She had prepared a long speech about the decline of the neighborhood, but before she could even begin, someone in the back started humming softly. It's not easy being green. The entire room erupted into laughter. Karen, her face flushing a deep red, clashing horribly with the last traces of green on her skin, fled the room in humiliation. The day Karen's moving truck finally drove away, Michael raised a glass of lemonade. Not in celebration of her departure, but in appreciation of something much greater. By standing up to a bully, he had brought an entire community together. A year later, Michael's pool remained the heart of the neighborhood. Karen's house had been bought by a wonderful interracial family with twin daughters. The girls had joined the local swim team, and Michael helped coach them on weekends. Visitors sometimes paused by a small framed photo near the pool gate. It showed a group of people running through the neighborhood, their skin unmistakably green. Michael, smirking slightly, would simply say, "Just a little reminder that karma knows how to make a splash." The security cameras were still there, but these days, they captured something entirely different. Birthday parties, swimming lessons, and neighbors enjoying warm summer evenings together. HOA meetings had become shorter, friendlier, and strangely free of complaints about property values. Last week, Michael received an interesting email. A local news station had just discovered that Karen, now living in, to be continued,